Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to be hosting another episode of Nuts and Bolts, where we discuss the journey of an entrepreneur and what it takes to win in business, which, by the way, is not as difficult as many may think. And at the same time, it's probably one of the most difficult journeys you will ever take on. All right. So a bit of a paradox there, I know, but what do I mean? It's not difficult for those who have made their mind up. See, once you decide that you want more, once you decide that you want to progress, then honestly, so few people make that decision, you're already 90% ahead of the rest of the population. Isn't that cool? By the fact that you are on a Zoom like this, already you've given yourself the advantage over 90% of the population, in that you've decided you want more. You've decided you want to progress. You've decided that you want to improve. All right. That's the hardest part, strangely enough. That's why I say it's the easiest thing you'll ever do, because there's hardly any competition. As an entrepreneur, as somebody that's a businessman, as somebody that's decided to take on 100% responsibility for your financial well-being, you are part of a tiny percentage of the population. And so already you're in the driving seat, you're in pole position in the grand scheme of life, the creme de la creme, as I like to call them. All right. So that's the great thing. Once you've decided, you already have the advantage. 90% of the human population has proven, century after century, millennia after millennia, to be absolutely committed to average. 100% committed to mediocre, 100% committed to no leadership, but being led. Very few want to lead. Now, I say 90%, and again, that's not a study that's been done. I'm just using that as an example. It's a very real example. I'm going by approximately the kind of numbers of people I speak to. I've spoken to millions of people around the world over the last 3 decades, and on average, I can tell you that that's kind of how it works, right? 90% of people are not going to take on the commitment, the decision, and the journey. All right, so you're already ahead. Now, of the 10% that make the decision, they're not your competitors, they're your allies, because we're already so few. All right, but the 10% that have made a decision to succeed, generally speaking, have within it a 90%, 10% rule. So that puts you into the top 1%. And that's what I call, the 90% of that 10% will be on the journey, but will not be, they'll be on the journey, but they won't be the ones that are leading the journey. So even within that decision to be a leader, there are leaders that follow and leaders that lead. That's how sharp-edged the conversation is. All right. So when you decide to be a leader of leaders, you are part of such a minute percentage of the human population worldwide that you already want to give yourself a massive pat on the back, that you're willing to be a voice that wants to be heard. And that takes something. It's courageous, it's bold. It's, for me, the most exciting group of people to be around. These are the thinkers, they are the learners, they're the givers, the students of life, but most importantly, they are the doers. A lot of people out of that top, the 10% that makes that strong decision to move forward, a lot of them will absorb great content. They'll show up to events like this, they'll read books, they'll go to events, they'll watch great stuff online, they'll do all of that. They'll follow people that are making a difference. They will be doing much of the easy steps. I call them the easy steps. But then what do you do after the easy steps are done? Then you've got to take action. And what separates that top sharp edge are people that act on their decision and act on the information that they're receiving and that they're absorbing and that they're learning. So I always say we are the most underestimated and under-recognized community on the planet, entrepreneurs. Really. How does it go when you're an entrepreneur? How does it go in terms of conversations in your family? I remember it was the most surreal feeling. I remember a time when I hit huge success in my early 20s as a retailer, which was the kind of, the theme of all of my uncles and where they were making their living. I decided to go into that space and I started my own business in retail. And I was buying and selling rundown shops. So I'd buy them cheap, do them up, and sell them for a huge gain. All right. And for me, it was second nature, easy to do. Easy peasy to do. But for all of my family who were already in the space, they thought I was crazy. Why wouldn't I just buy one shop and stay put and run it and let it earn me a living? That was the mindset. So whenever I was buying and selling and flipping, they thought I was crazy. Why am I taking such big risks? What's wrong with me? Why do I have to stray from the norm? Can you see? So if you imagine that was the top 10% of all the shopkeepers in the world, the top 10%, because they've taken destiny in their own hands. They've taken a massive risk. They've paid huge amounts of money to acquire an outlet, a premises. They've got to pay massive rents, rates, all the costs of running a business, staff, stock, bills, electricity. They've got to do all of that stuff. And if they're really hardworking and super lucky, they make some profit as well to keep for themselves. Most solopreneurs, retailers that own one business, or mom and pop shops, as they call them, are just making a living. But they are making a living on their own terms. That's the plus. They're making a living on their own terms, but even within that space, they have their own limitations. Most of them will only ever own one shop. And that one shop will pay their bills, right? It will put a roof over their head. It will put food on the table. It'll buy them clothes. It will give them a car. It will give them a better life than most in terms of security financially. But it's not going to be anything extravagant. Study them as well. They don't drive around in supercars. They don't travel 6 months of the year. They don't shop in the most glamorous of places. They don't eat in the most expensive place. They don't have the lifestyle to match the effort they put in. But like I said, they would rather work 12, 13, 14 hours a day and be their own boss and live well than work 8, 9 hours a day, travel 2 or 3 hours a day, and put up with other people's nonsense. So they're already leading themselves. They're leaders of themselves. So that's why I love entrepreneurs. That's why I love people that separate themselves from the pack. It's easy to let somebody else look after you. Easy peasy. Let the boss pay your bills, which is what the vast majority of the planet does. Paycheck to paycheck. It's not easy. It's easy to have the thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if I could do this for myself? Wouldn't it be wonderful if I had my own business? The thought is easy to have, but it's very difficult to leave the security of your job, your career, your education. That's probably linked to your job oftentimes. Oh my God, I spent all those years studying for this. How can I leave? You see? But then what do people say when you do leave? You get put down, you get slated. People call you crazy. What are you doing? Do you know what you're doing? What are you thinking? It's against the grain. So when you decide to become an entrepreneur and you enter this world, be ready for all of that. People, here's the other thing. I was speaking to the other day, really beautiful conversation. Oh, my friend Reda. So here's how the conversation went with him. I met him a few days ago for a coffee, and here's how the conversation went. We were talking away about entrepreneurship and business and what it takes. And he's one of those people that set his business up here in Dubai around 15 years ago. Broke free, Moroccan guy, broke free from the usual stories, the family ties, first of all. Came here young, fresh, on his own, ready to start something, broke free of all family ties and started his journey. Done very well, by the way, by now, but wasn't an easy journey for sure. And we were talking away, and he was saying, the thing with entrepreneurs, he said, we would rather face our enemies face head on. Like, rather I be eaten by a lion. This is what he said. It's a Moroccan phrase he was trying to translate into English. I'd rather be eaten by a lion than stabbed in the back by my enemy. And he was like, it doesn't translate very well, but for me, I kind of figured out my version of the translation. And my version of the translation is, we're willing to face as entrepreneurs whatever risks that are out there, as long as we know what those risks are. But also oftentimes as an entrepreneur, it's the people that talk behind your back and then you hear about it that hurt the most. The people that you thought cared about you the most. The people that you thought loved you the most. The people that you thought meant something, or you meant something to them. It's incredible how entrepreneurs get the rough edge of the sword. They really, really do. Like being stabbed in the back, or having arrows in your back, or being shot in the back, or whatever analogy you want to use. As an entrepreneur, get used to it, unfortunately. That's the best advice I'm going to give you. Get used to it. It'll never go away. And the better you do, the more of it comes. The more you prove them wrong, the more they suffer with the concept. Because first they're hoping you don't succeed so that they can be right, so they can justify their position of average and mediocrity. Nobody wants their brother, their sister, their work colleague. They don't want those people to succeed, really. To your face, they'll say that they want you to succeed. But most of the time they don't. Very few are honestly and genuinely thrilled for your success. Most are jealous, envious, very judgmental. They'll be nice to your face, but you'll be amazed at what you find out they'll say to other people when you're not around. Because it's uncomfortable, not because they hate you, they love you. They do care about you, but they don't want you to go too far away, because then you show them the gap, and nobody likes to be shown the gap. Because they know that you started in the same place that they started. They know that you're evidence to them of what's possible, just by living in possibility, by thinking possibility, living in possibility, and making the decision to separate yourself and do what most won't, to get what most won't. Be willing to break yourself up, reinvent yourself, recreate yourself. Be willing to get back up again, go again. When you try to succeed and fail, they'll surround you, mollycoddle you. Oh, it's all right, don't worry, Andrew. At least you tried. But inside, they feel comfortable because you're back where they were. There's a sense of comfort that settles in. Not all of them. Of course, not all of them. It's never all of them. It's never everything. It's always extremes. But there's a big bunch of them that are like this. And you're going to know it's like that because you're going to hear it. As I said, that if you do start succeeding and moving further away, you'll start hearing some amazing things. And when you confront them afterwards, they'll be very, very embarrassed. But are you willing to do that? Are you willing to be different, to be judged, to be ostracized? All of the things that most human beings don't want is what you're going to face as an entrepreneur. And then there's a beautiful journey of how to balance the two. A lot of people say you got to cut yourself away from all of those. No, you don't. You certainly need to spend less time with them. All right. But if you're tied to somebody by blood, you're tied to them till death, scientifically, spiritually. You're tied to them till death. So keep the peace and be loving and be smiling, even if they've stabbed you in the back, even if they've been, archers, professional archers, aiming at the red spot on your back. Cool. Let them be. It's their prerogative. That's their journey. Just because they are attacking you or judging you doesn't mean that you need to resent them. If they're resenting you, you don't need to resent them. You don't need to hold that against them. That's just where they're at in their journey. Do you see? If you do what they're doing to you, if you do it back to them, then you're the same. Then you're just pretending to grow, but not really growing. Focus on your journey, focus on where you're going, focus on your own progress. Take the steps you need to take on a daily, consistent basis to make those moves in the direction that you're heading. And when you see them, say hi, be polite, be forgiving, be generous, be who you are anyway. Be who you are anyway. You don't need to be another way. I've got family that even now, half a century into the world, over half a century into the world, that still make comments that are so far, 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 far away from me in history. But they'll still do it. There's a couple of my cousins that still can't figure out why I haven't got a job and when I'm going to get a job. Still, now. I don't see them too often, but when I do, like when there's a wedding or a funeral or one of those events, and that conversation comes up, it's predictable as clockwork. But guess what? It's cool because I don't know who said it, but it's so, so true. The best form of revenge is actually not revenge. The best form of revenge is success. Like when you've done what you set out to do, then it's irrelevant what they say. So developing that attitude of invincibility. And one of the ways that I help people to understand how to do that better is think of yourself in a way, and you've got to visualize this in your mind, that you are invincible. You've got to convince yourself that you're invincible first. So you have a bubble around you. And in many different ways you can word it. I say just if you follow your higher consciousness, if you know who you are and you know what you stand for, what's important to you, what's uncompromisable, once you've worked some of this stuff out and you're clear that nothing gets in the way of that, then by default, you use that as your armor, because then it doesn't matter what somebody says, does, thinks. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how they think about you. Doesn't matter how they speak about you to your face. Doesn't matter how they speak about you behind your back. All of it becomes irrelevant, good, bad, and ugly. If they speak well for you, thank you very much. If they speak badly about you, thank you very much. It doesn't matter. You're not looking for external confirmation or validation. Very, very important. As an entrepreneur, if you're searching for validation and confirmation from outside, the odds are you're going to have a very, very difficult journey ahead. And oftentimes unlikely to make it, because your decisions will be based on whether they like you, whether they agree with you, whether they support you. Your decisions will be based on all of that external stuff. But if your decisions are internal, then all of that stuff doesn't matter. It's just stuff. It becomes irrelevant. So for me, these are the advantages you can give yourself as an entrepreneur, how to win. And I often differentiate that by entrepreneurs and wantrepreneurs. So now the only person you're competing with is yourself. The only person that you're being judged by is yourself. The only person that's doing the measuring is you. And then you can be honest with yourself and look in the mirror. And then measure your numbers, as they say. Look at the dashboard. Did you progress? Did you win today? Did you win the day, or did the day win today? And you're not going to win every day, all right? But if you can win more days than the days that win, then you're making progress. So you play to win. Nobody's guaranteed to win. You play to win every day, and you win some and you lose some. Every day you take a step forward. Sometimes you take one step forward and 2 steps back. But as long as you're taking 1 step forward more often than you're taking 2 steps back, then you make progress. It's the people that take 1 step forward and 2 steps back every single day that are moving in reverse. So make progress. Small progress, little progress. Tony Robbins talks about the 2 degrees of, the 2 degrees that makes the difference. Just 2 degrees, a 2-degree shift. He says, if you move your chin up 2 degrees, you're ahead of the game. If you move your shoulders back 2 degrees, you're ahead of the game. You move your chest out and up 2 degrees, you're ahead of the game. A 2-degree shift in your thinking, you're ahead of the game. Why? Because that 2 degrees, when projected over time, becomes 20 degrees and 200 degrees. The destination is completely different. What starts off as a small shift today, if it's consistent over time, shift in your future. You don't notice it today, but you'll notice it a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Guess what? I made certain decisions that I have never, ever changed for 28 years. And if you speak to anyone that knows me for that length of time, there are tons of them, by the way. It's another thing. I'm really good at retaining friendships and relationships. Gazillions of them all over the world. If you ever speak to anyone that knows me, not anyone that's heard of me, anyone that knows me personally, whether it's for a year, 10 years, or 30 years, one thing that you'll hear from every single one of them is that I'm consistent. I just am who I am. I don't change colors. I don't change tones. I don't change stories. I don't make stuff up. I don't have to tell new lies to cover old lies because I don't lie. I'm as raw and real as it gets. It's just how it is. Don't need to look over my shoulder all the time wondering who did I say, what did I say to them? What did I say to them? What do I need to say to them? I don't have any of that. I don't have noise going on in my head. Because I made some decisions 28 years ago when I worked on myself. Very, very aggressively. Very, very thoroughly. And I put myself through a mega regimental training. I read every book I could read. I listened to every cassette I could listen to. I watched every video I could watch on Masters of the Day. I acted upon it. I acted upon stuff I was learning. I started shifting everything to a point now I don't believe anything except what I choose to believe right now, right? Like I can be so flexible in my thinking. I can be so right 1 minute, and within 10 seconds, if somebody else proves me wrong, I'm proven wrong. Doesn't happen often, by the way. But to be that open and flexible, to just surrender and say, you know what? Yeah, I got that completely wrong. You're right. It doesn't matter to me. If somebody else has got a better way, has worked something out better than I'd worked it out, I want to learn from that. But what else it does, it gives you confidence. It gives you competence. When you've done the number of hours of work, I saw something a few days ago, a couple of days ago, actually. So the 100-hour effect, 18 minutes a day, every day for a year, and you become a master of anything on the planet, anything you set your mind to. That 100-hour effect. If you can do anything for 18 minutes a day, every single day, without missing a beat, for a year, within a year, you'll have mastered that space more than most. You can learn an instrument, 18 minutes a day. You can learn a language, 18 minutes a day. You can learn anything in 18 minutes a day, every single day for a year. Isn't that amazing? I love that. 100 hours. I was like, wow, what a beautiful, and it's so straight back into what I often refer to as collapsing timeframes and compounding education, compounding knowledge. When you're consistent, and the analogy I've often given, some of you may have heard, I learned to drive a car in 1 month flat. Because what I did was I compounded and compressed time. Whereas all of my friends were taking 1 hour of driving lessons a week, I took 2-hour lessons every single day for a month. So I did a year's work in 30 days. Can you see that? 60 hours in a month versus an hour a week for a year. But here's the other thing. When you do 1 hour a week, you forget 90% of what you learned the first week. In week 2, you're starting again. You're literally starting again every single lesson every week. And you're making tiny, tiny progress. When you have a 2-hour lesson today and another 2-hour one tomorrow, you've retained 90% of what you learned yesterday. So the fact is, I didn't even need a month's worth. I booked a month's worth because I was committed to just having my license as quickly as possible. But I'd actually mastered driving within about 10 days. The rest, I was just kind of going out for a drive. I was just cruising around for a couple of hours every day with my instructor, having fun, enjoying driving at 17. What does a 17-year-old want to do? Get in a car and drive. So for the rest of that 20 odd days, I was whizzing around in my BSM instructor's car for 2 hours a day. He wasn't having to do much at all. And then like the week before the test, he just went through the basics with me just to make sure that I knew what the instructor was going to expect. And off I went. And guess what? My first test, I failed. But the second one I passed. I failed on a really silly minor mistake of mine. I didn't look in the mirror when I was changing lanes. Small thing, but hey, you know what? Again, there's a couple of lessons there. Number one is you can learn a hell of a lot very quickly when you compress time, but also you can get a little bit complacent and arrogant sometimes when you've learned a lot in a short space of time. So you think you're a master when you're not. So mastery really does come with experience. So I had to experience that laziness can kick in, not looking in the mirror, bang, fail. Get it? It's lots of learnings in all of it. So as an entrepreneur, learn to compress timeframes. Whatever business you're doing, learn as much about it as quickly as possible. And at some point, jump out of the nest. Don't be a wuss. I see so many people, especially in the home-based business industry, I see so many people, they get addicted to just learning and listening. And then they're frozen. They will not take action. Or the action they take is like chickens, scary actions. You with me? They're taking baby actions. Oh, yeah, I did. I made a couple of phone calls today. Made a couple of phone calls? You're not serious about building a business. And look, I'm not beating you up, right? But I am a little bit. If you understood, let's put it this way, if you understood what was possible when you apply the same levers that leaders apply in a business, you'd produce the same results. Wouldn't take you long. Then why wouldn't you? Jim Rohn puts it brilliantly. He says you can outperform any leader by just taking more action than them. So a leader is somebody with experience, they've got competence, they've got confidence, they've got experience, they've got knowledge, they've got all of that stuff going on for them, right? So they might say, you know what, I spoke to 10 people today and 8 turned up on a Zoom and 4 signed up. They are phenomenal numbers. You invite 10, 8 turn up and 4 sign up. Freaking hell. 4 sign-ups in a day. But guess what? For a leader, that's second nature. In fact, we take it so for granted, we don't do it oftentimes. Like, I'll have loads of days where I don't recruit, so I'm busy working with the team. But when I decide to recruit, I'll recruit 10, 15, 20 people a day for 2-3 days. If I get in that zone. Here's what Jim Rohn said. If somebody did 10, 8, 4, you can do 100. And if only 50 turned up and 4 signed up, the percentages are horrible, but the number is the same. You got the same result. So you can make up in numbers what you lack in skill in the early days. Because the reason people will join your opportunity, whichever opportunity you're in, is because of your excitement, your enthusiasm, your commitment to the outcome. Not because they understood everything. Just like you didn't understand everything. And I didn't understand everything. And nobody understands everything when they see it for the first time. You get a feel for something. You get a feel for it. You start understanding it when you start doing it. I still don't understand everything half the time when I'm building. What I do understand is if I keep speaking to people and I'm excited and I'm committed to their success and committed to their progress, then together we'll move forward and work out whatever we need to work out. We'll break the walls down that we need to break. We'll walk around the walls we need to walk around. We'll climb the ones we need to climb, and we'll go under the ones we need to go under. Doesn't matter. The key is to have a vision, an outcome, and it's got to be personal. It's got to be meaningful to you. What is it you're looking for? Then go after it like crazy, and make sure you go after it like crazy, 18 minutes a day, every single day. See what magic you can create in a year. So I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of insight. It's such a small missing piece for most people, and it's not where you often think it is. It's not in knowing everything before you win. It's not in knowing more than other people before you win. It's in getting excited, getting focused, getting consistent and committed, and getting it done. Sue. Oh, no, Dizzy. How you doing, buddy?
You know what, I've got to say thank you, because every week you drop it like it's hot, and you bring a reminder to everyone that has that entrepreneurial spirit, because it's a journey, right? And just because you were doing good last week doesn't mean you won't be doing good this week. So, you know, when you say we're like mobile phones, right? They just need a recharge. So I know Nuts and Bolts used to be a recharge. It still is a recharge. And yeah, I want to say thank you for keeping us charged up and keeping the nuts and bolts really tight. I've got a friend I met through Twitter who's on the call today, El Prof. I hope you're enjoying yourself there. Feel free to ask any questions. This is a masterclass in action. So yeah, thank you very much, Kalpesh, as always.
Dizzy, thank you so much for showing up for yourself, and of course for others, bringing your guests with you. Sue.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Kalpesh, for another brilliant training this week. I mean, I think everything that you've said has really resonated with me on my journey as an entrepreneur, you know, from the family not supporting you, kind of wanting to keep you in a place of like, no, just get a job, it's secure, and be normal like everybody else, you know, and you're trying to fight it, and you're along the way thinking like, am I doing the right thing? What if it doesn't work out? Should I maybe just do what they're telling me to do? Because if it fails, then they'll be pointing the finger saying, we told you so. And, you know, it is a scary place to be. And, you know, as an entrepreneur who, you know, I've been out of work, if you like, out of a job for a few years now. And, you know, it's been one of those kind of roller coaster rides, but actually really trusting myself and doing the inner work continuously has helped me to continue my journey. And I have to say, like, I'm living my best life because I keep doing the work. You know, I keep sharpening the saw. I keep coming back to these calls, keep coming back to these conversations and checking with myself, like, what is it that I really want and what's my why, you know? And it really does make a difference, plugging in and surrounding yourself with the right people. So thank you so much for the conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you. Very, very important. When you say surround yourself with the right people, this is your new family. Like, really just buy into that, right? That's, you know, your family, your real family. There's two families. One is your blood family that you're born into. And then the other family is the one that is following, or not following, is sharing the same path as you. Find your people, find your tribe, right? So important. Don't do this journey alone. It's horrible and painful if it's on your own. But when you're with a group of people that get you, it lightens the load massively and accelerates your success. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, good, thanks. I was fantastic. Absolutely loved it every week.
Thank
Yeah, the line with your family, crikey, all you guys, all the regular faces, you are my family, truly. And yeah, one of the things you said, use your purpose as your armor. I thought that was brilliant. Yeah. I guess kind of like protect yourself. You've said before, you've got to have the skin of a rhino, and yeah, just let them fire it at you and let them get on with their thing, you know. Absolutely fabulous. Another thing, I heard it last week, sometimes 18 minutes every day, the 100-hour thing for a year.
Yeah.
I'd already wrote that down, and then you go and say it. I'm telling you, you've got a connection with people here. You've got a connection with every single one of us that's like top notch, top notch. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sending that to me through the universe. Absolutely beautiful. Love it. Thank you. Dr. Vinod, how are we doing, buddy?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Kalpesh. It's a
Evening.
lovely, lovely training you are doing as usual every week. One sentence I try and pick up from you, and I've learned today that I'm going to create a bubble around me and stay in that bubble so that anybody says anything to me, doesn't matter. Either you join me, fine. You don't join me, fine. Jo aayega uska bhi bhala, nahi aayega uska bhi bhala. And as regards to the doing little bit every day, which I do, and I'm with you in this journey. You are my gold star, you are my leader, you are my company, and I'm going to keep you behind you all the way. And thank you very much for this training. And when you are not here, we miss you. So please come every Thursday, Wednesday, and I'm here with you, and I'm on the journey with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod. An absolute pleasure to always have you here. Not only are you a brilliant student, you're also a brilliant teacher as well. 80, teaching everybody what's possible. Age is literally just a number, and Dr. Vinod shows that to all of us every single week. Danielle, how you doing, hon?
Hi, Kalpesh. I didn't get on till 2:25. I'm really sorry I missed. But where I got on was when you were saying you don't have to know everything. Just get out there and share. And it's so funny because last night I had two young men come to the door. They were probably in their late teens or maybe 20, and they were selling me an alarm system with an internet provider. And I actually ended up talking to them about DataBank, and I kept saying, listen, this is new to me. I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is what it is. And they both said to me, you should be in sales. And I was supposed to be on the call at 3 o'clock. So I kind of got the point. I kind of got,
Well done. Love it. There you go. And as simple as that. See, somebody comes up to your door, they're selling you something, share what you've got with them. That's all we do. Tom, how you doing, bud? Hey, go ahead and unmute.
There we go. Cool.
Hey.
Yeah, a couple things you said that it really impacted me. You know, I look at a Telegram group that I've got, and I always notice that 3% of the people are on the call. And I'm always reminded that those are the 3% that always make money because they're sharpening their skills. And when you said, you know, competence creates confidence, I mean, you can tell when somebody doesn't know what they're talking about, but, you know, as Danielle said, enthusiasm can always win you over. And I think sometimes the more you know, it can hamper you as well if you get too much up in your head. But I am also reminded of a couple quotes that when you were talking about, you know, the opinions of others. And I think it was that lions don't care about the opinions of sheep, and be a lion, you know. And I've always said that people's opinions don't pay my bills. You know, hard work, prospecting, showing up for training, doing the same thing over and over is really what pays the bills. And a mentor of mine, Hubert Humphrey, said that, you know, people want the spice of life, but they're not willing to pay the monotony to get it. And that monotony is running any business. I mean, you go to work every day. You get up, you get in the car, you shower, you do your breakfast, you do that every day to go collect a paycheck. But people find it hard to send out 10 private messages a day. I have a practice that, I look through, Facebook as a recommended friends list. They always have this like film strip on my computer, and I wake up every day and I look for people that look sharp, that have a lot of mutual friends. And I figure, well, if they have a lot of mutual friends, they're probably an entrepreneur, and I friend request them. And then when they send me back a friend request, it just says, hey, just wanted to connect with you. I see, that we have a lot of great mutual friends, and what are you up to? And I had a lady this morning, I did that too. Out of the 10 friend requests I sent, I got 3 back. And she said, oh, I'm just looking for opportunity. I was like, well, that was as easy as just clicking on a friend request and messaging her back. And we just have to remember this is a numbers game. And the more numbers you run, the more successful you are. And it's really not rocket science. If you're excited about the opportunity you're involved in, that's going to come across naturally. And from there, it's just a matter of running the numbers. And it's a lot easier than getting in a car and going to work every day. I can tell you, requesting, I can friend request. I don't even have to shower before I friend request. I don't have to take a shower to get my work started. Whereas a lot of people have to get their day started for work. But yeah, just having that warrior mindset. And I just want to congratulate everybody. You are the 3%ers. Keep that in your head. If you're on this training, you are a 3%er, and the 3%ers are the ones that win big. And, the other 10, 20% may pay some bills, and the other 80% fail because they don't know what it means to show up for practice. And I get something from me every time. I just want to thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And couldn't have ended the session better than that. Thank you so much, all that have attended today. It's been my pleasure, my honor that I get to do this every single week. And when I say get to do this, what I mean is I get to share and live my purpose and contribute and give back and hope to inspire a handful of you to be a little bit better after an event like this than you were before the event, and continue your journey towards your success. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next training next week, same time, same place, same link, and bring your entrepreneurial friends along for the journey as well. Thank you so much. And we'll see you then. Ciao.